Well, I kind of messed up. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you haven't seen the old videos, go watch them. We just got done with that event. It's probably like the next week. I think it's like 2 weeks from now. Coming back into town from that event. If you don't know, go watch it to get up to speed. But had a great time, but we learned a lot of new things about the car through quote unquote data. So that being said, there's some TLC and maintenance that needs to be done in this car to fix the problems that we encountered when we were at Streetcar Takeover in Rockingham. So those things really were, one, it was pulling timing in like second gear or something. So kind of sort of figured that out through pulling the intake off. We found some oil in there and did some research and found that that residue can possibly have the chance of pulling timing or knock, or have false knock, I guess you call it, something like that. So that was an issue, and we're settling that with new springs, seals, retainers, BTR 660 springs, standard issue for this kind of street car stuff. So that I have here, as well as, well, I'm missing the seats for the springs and the retainers. It'll be here in like a day or two, but it'll all be in one video. Anyway, we'll just say we have it. We have that. And the other thing was spark plugs, which I fixed at the track. We put the quarter plugs in there. I think it was a combination of both of those causing the knock issue. But also the transmission was getting really hot. And that kind of sort of wasn't, I wouldn't say that was at the event per se, but from driving to my local track, about 25 minutes, it was getting, after going there, it would get to like a little over 200. And then after I'd race, I obviously couldn't cool down all the way. I'd come home and it was, at one point it got to like almost like 250 degrees. So way not okay. I've replaced this fluid probably 4 times now since having the transmission in and out so many times, new converter changes, rebuilds, yada yada. So I'm pretty much fed up with it, and I'm gonna go with what I've been told and researched and found to hopefully be the cure for all. And it's really a duo thing. One is the AW30 or John Deere, whoever you want to go with, hydraulic transmission fluid. So I'm going to, will be here tomorrow or Friday as well. But I'm gonna replace all that fluid in here, leave about a quart of regular fluid in there because it's kind of clearish. So you want to have the red from the regular ATF so you can see it on the dipstick. So pretty much all the fluid is going to be that now, and see if that helps with the temperatures, as well as bigger fans. So I originally had the fan mounted in the rear of the car underneath. You can check with the old videos. You'll see I have it mounted underneath the car. Lines ran all the way underneath and back up into the transmission on this side, back there, right? So that didn't work. It was getting hot a lot faster, maybe just because of how far I had to travel. I don't know, but that didn't work. I had to rebuild the trans, yada yada. I was like, well, I need to cool this transmission down, so I'll move it to the front. So I moved it to the front and put it perfectly right here where it sits now. Made 2 little brackets, and it sits right there in the middle, and it's getting all that force. Well, I did that, went to the track, same thing happened, still getting hot. It's like, okay, so come to find out, it was like, kind of not bad. I had the wires swapped, so I thought it was mounted, or I thought it was sucking the air in on the fan when it would come on, and it was actually the wrong way. So all I had to do, So I pull the bumper off, swap the fan to the other side, which now facing closest to the front of the bumper, and all I had to do really was swap the wires because it's reverse polarity. So wire it one way, it spins, wire it the other way, it spins the other way. This is the derail transcooler, by the way, for those of you who have one of these or plan on getting one. That's all you have to do, so you don't take off all your stuff to get to it if it's tucked away. But I digress. I put that all back together, figured out that was just wiring thing, swapped the wires, and it was actually sucking. And I was like, all right, cool. So took that to the track last Thursday and still got hot. So I'm at my wits with it. I'm done changing fluids and trying that. I'm just I ordered a brand new, bigger, better derail performance twin layer, dual layered, whatever you want to call it, bigger fan transcooler. So pretty much a beefed up version of the single layer I have, which I'll be selling this. Then look out Facebook, that's going up for sale. Get that gone. And hopefully this on top of the fluid change, we see some cool down temperatures. So that's the brief of what we need to do to hopefully, after this, we'll log and verify, but cure the issue with the oil, the knock, it pulling timing, and the hot trans temps. So only way to do that is after we swap everything, log it and drive it. So that's where we're at. Much needed maintenance, well deserved because of the victory. So it's getting what it needs to be better long term. And with this kind of, beating up on cars and what I do with it, it's gonna happen. This stuff's gonna happen. That's racing, right? So yeah, that is pretty much it. So what I'm gonna do is, in this video, I'm just going to pretty much go over, I'm gonna take this off, swap that over, probably have to make new brackets and lock that in place, reconnect my lines, reconnect my wiring. Right now I just have it wired to a fuse in here on my headlights. So my headlights are on, the fan cuts on, just as like an override. I do have a actual sensor, wherever that is, 180 thermostat sensor and fitting. That's an extra one. I actually have it somewhere, I don't know, in this realm. Place is a mess. I still have to clean it up. Just so been busy with work. But the sensors kick on at 180, cut off at 165. But I have it overridden right now just to try to keep it as cool as possible from driving on the street. And it's only getting hotter out here. So take this off, swap that out, take off the valve covers, get the rockers out, press in the new springs. New seals, and put the springs, top hats on, torque everything down, yada yada. I made a video on this, doing this before with the trunnion upgrade, so it's kind of similar to that, except we're not doing the trunnions. We're just pulling the rockers off and pressing the springs down. You can a million of videos on how to do that, so I'm not going to really touch base on that. It's a simple procedure, just time consuming. You have to rotate the motor, yada yada. So that is what I have to do for that. And then last but not least, I want to hook up the freaking two-step I got just hanging over here, chilling, not doing anything, not two-stepping like it needs to be. So hook that back up to the car, and I might be ready just to try the trans brake. I don't know. I'm gonna try foot braking it a couple times if we get all the coolness going on and it's not hot anymore. And then maybe send it on the trans brake. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know what you think, if I should do it or not. But we're doing pretty well on the foot brake, so I don't want to push my luck too hard. Start braking, axles, so we'll see. But I'm gonna stop talking because it's already getting late. I only have a certain amount of time to work tonight because I need sleep. I'm working super late, so I'm gonna do as much as I can, put y'all down, and we're gonna go and get started on this. Make sure you share this video, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for the support I've been getting lately. Y'all are awesome. Keep it up. If anything question-wise that you have in this video or other videos, just let me know. I'm trying to reply. I think I replied just about every comment so far. Good or bad, ugly, I don't care. I'm here for you guys, so let me know what you think. And let's get after it. All right, so we got the old cooler off and went ahead and made 2 new brackets for the new cooler. It literally fits like a glove. You can still access the latch here, but the fan shroud kind of just barely sits right there, but it still locks. So that's good. I just had to loosen this up, these bolts, to lift this up to put it in place and then set it down. Just left it loose until I made my brackets. Just made a kickoff there and then a little L bracket down here. That's really not, I mean, that's not going anywhere. That's me trying to push it. So I had previous holes here and here, but I'm just gonna do 1 and 1. That's plenty enough. You're not gonna see any of this once the bumper's on anyway, but just to give you an idea. So hook my lines back up. All I have left to do is the wiring, which I will do probably tomorrow because it's already getting late, but I'm just gonna feed the wiring up here, the fuse box, and run it off the fans until I have A-OK on the cooling, keeping it cold. And then I'll add in the sensor, which is over here. This is my old one. I have a new one. This tab got bent, but sensor pretty much go in an either or spot right there. And you just hook your wiring to that, so that way it kicks on automatically. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's just how that's set up to give you visualization. Yeah, I'm tired, but yeah, you get it. That's the point. For those who are running air-to-air intercoolers, it does clear. This isn't the big race Pro Charger cooler. This is like the middle of the road one. I don't know. There's like 3 different levels. So I don't know if the bigger one would. It might fit, might not. But yeah, this is. You can get these off Amazon, Jags, anywhere, like $170, but it's the dual layered one. So hopefully this works, gets the job done. So we'll go from there. Up next is going to be putting the bumper back on the car. Tires, wheels, done with that. All it needs is a new fluid. And then lower the car down and start tackling the springs and seals on both sides. So we're gonna replace all of those and kind of go from there. So let's get right to it. I'm gonna cut till the next day once everything's here, and then we will carry on. All right, so it is currently a day or 2 later. Just kind of getting work in where I can. Went ahead and put the bumper back on and drained the fluid, added the hydraulic fluid into transmission dipstick. So that's done, fluid's on. Now we tackle, I got the rest of my parts in. The new springs, I have a spring tool from BTR.
The top hats, seals, those of you who are looking for that, that's what that is. Doing a similar project. And then this is just the lockers as well. So there's your part number 2 for the top hats. So now I got the car kind of dismantled a little bit. Plug wires off, coil packs off, it's just so we can get to the inside here. Pull the plugs out. They're all sitting right here. Running the BR7 EFs. These are a lot better than the TR6s I was running. Just based off those, we think we can add some more timing to it, which is good. More means more power. So now I need to take the valve covers off and get the rocker arms off. The only other tool that I don't have, it's because it's already hooked up, is what you'll need is a airline compressor, which I have right there, and this tool that connects to your airline, and it goes into the spark plug hole. This constantly applies air to the cylinder that you're doing the valves on, so that way you don't drop a valve. I do have some recessed pistons, flat top pistons, so I don't know if I can get away with it, but I'm not taking any chances. I have the tool, so I'm gonna use it. Some people can do it with or without air. There's some videos on that for those who don't have access to an air compressor. So I encourage you to go look and do a lot of research before you do this, because the last thing you wanna do is drop a valve, because now you're pulling all the heads off, doing gaskets. It's bad. So yeah, we'll keep plucking away here. Rip valve covers off, valve covers off. Just put things where they go exactly. When it comes to engine stuff, you want to be precise as possible. So that's what I'm gonna do. Everything stays on one side. It's not all just universal. Kind of, sort of, but don't want to take that chance here. So go slow. This is just a time-consuming process. Do one at a time. I'm gonna start with the driver's side. Do 1, 3, 5, 7, then 2, 4, 6, 8. You can only really limit it to do it one at a time, because you can only have air in one cylinder at a time. So that's what we're doing. I'll put you guys down and keep rocking out. So started getting the first one of the springs off, and I ran into a little bit of a problem. You hear by the sound, that's my airline I have hooked up into where the spark plug goes, keep air going into the or pressurize that cylinder so the valves stay up. Well, I kind of messed up. I got the old valve off. It was stuck. I kind of had to wiggle it off and plier it off. Well, I had air going to it, and I stopped. I stopped the air to kind of tap the valve loose a little bit for a second. It wasn't coming loose, and yeah, that's when the valve dropped, unfortunately. And didn't drop all the way. It dropped just far enough down to where you can't get it. So I'm just gonna show you, kind of explain everything, where we're at. So it was the very first one I started on. That one, I actually just saved it. I tried pulling it up with some pliers, different tools, and it was not budging whatsoever. So long story short, I ended up taking my belt off. I even tried putting super glue on top of there with a magnet, like a strong magnet, and wherever that is, I bought special picks. I could not get that valve up at all. Can't talk tonight. And yeah, pretty much ended up taking the belts off and just, instead of going clockwise, I went counterclockwise, and I was a little bit past top dead center. That's why I fell down a little bit, and it pushed it right back up. I was like this close to dropping a valve and having to lift a head. So extra work, of course. Intake, that's got to go back on. So take my note for advice for doing this job. If you're doing your seals, do not let the air out of the chamber, whatever you do. And it's obviously easier with the heads off the car, but I really don't want to take this apart just to do freaking seals. So I'm gonna keep pushing on. You need this special tool, or you can really get them anywhere, eBay, Amazon, BTR if you want to be fancy, but spring compressor tool, and a magnet to get the keepers out, and constant air line going into the chamber to keep the valves pushed up. That way when you press in the new seal, it doesn't drop the valve with it, right? So very nerve-wracking. I'm glad it was the very first one I did, not the last one, otherwise I would have been so upset. But I'm gonna clean all this up. You can see this is why I'm doing it. You got oil residue right here, and I already cleaned these up from Rockingham, and just from that little bit of driving and maybe like one track a night test and tune, it's already got oil going through it. So I need to clean all this up pretty good and then get these new seals on. Hopefully no hiccups. It's gonna be pretty loud, so I'll probably put you guys on a time lapse of me doing this, but just because the air compressor's gonna be running all night. But whew, I've had like 13 heart attacks already, and I'm only on number 1, and I have 15 more to do. And then on top of that, I was doing an oil change on old girl there, old trusty Rusty there, and found needle bearings in my oil pan just because it's so high mileage. So another heart attack, 1400. And so I had ordered the trunnion upgrade kit and bearings, all that off like Amazon or somebody. And I plan on doing that immediately after I'm doing this. Thankfully, it's not as much in-depth work. I just gotta pull the rocker arms off and then make sure I just retorque everything, but pretty much doing this twice. So maintenance, heavy duty maintenance for sure. Definitely a Chronicles moment, but let me show you. Let me show you. We figured out the right setting for this car. Brave little toaster to the rescue. So we're gonna live. We're striving along nicely. I'm gonna set you guys down because I have not a lot of time to do this. It'll be super late for me, but we're gonna get after it. Just side note, don't do what I did. Don't ever disconnect the air. If you do, you better have a set of channel locks or something like that to hold the valve up, something on the top of it so it doesn't bloop. And then you have to take all your heads off. I mean, at least this motor's studded and everything. I don't want to do head gaskets, clean up all that crap, because then my friends will talk me into sending the heads off to get ported and doing a bunch of other crap that I'm not ready to do yet. So I had to save it. And I'm so glad I didn't go all the way down, because I was literally, the tip of it was just barely sitting in the valve guide hole thingy. So, okay. Anyway, that's where we're at. Let's go. All right, so fast forward, I just honestly was cranking out on these. It's been a couple days here and there working on it. It's been really freaking hot, so today's actually kind of a decent day. But we are finishing up. I'm getting closer and closer. Long story short, I ripped the head off of this side. I thought I had a bent valve in the first intake side on driver's side head, this first one right here. So I ordered a whole new valve, waited for those to come in. Ended up being fine, just the guide was dirty, the hole that the valve goes through. So I just cleaned that up and put the old valve back in, inspected it thoroughly, made sure it wasn't bent, yada yada yada. Cleaned the deck surface off here and ordered a new set of LS9 gaskets. and there's one right there. I'm not taking that head off because I don't need to. But the sucky part was because the bracket for the Pro Charger, which is right over here, bolts to the head, all this stuff had to come off, which sucked. So that's why it's kind of been taking me extra time. I had to redo all that. Side note too, when you're doing these, you can use air. If you have flat top or factory, just regular pistons, you can probably get away without it. But mine are dish pistons with valve relief. I forget the number on them, so the valve kind of sinks a little bit more down onto the piston. But for instance, zoom in on there, these are dished, so the valve, when it drops, when you take the retainers off to do these springs and seals, the valve would drop a little bit more, even though this is at top dead center for number 7 here. And number 4, which is the last one I'm doing right now, is also at top dead center. And there's a pattern for these for the firing order you can look up, but pretty much every 90 degrees I have it marked. Right here it's at 6 o'clock, and number 7 and 4 fire, and then you rotate it 90 degrees. Oh, I did not know I was zoomed in still. So you rotate another 90 degrees down here, and 2 more fire off. I have a picture of it, just I've been using. But I left the head off here so I can know for sure this is at top center on this side, which means the return, the other one will be at the top. But anyway, so I did this this driver side head on the bench with my valve spring tool. I did this side on the car. Hardest ones are obviously the ones in the back there. So just take your time, go slow, use hand tools, don't use any air, because if you just try to zip this on, it'll actually twist. This tool will actually twist and not line up your valve holes to put your retainers in. So if you hit it with like an impact or something, this will twist with the springs on there, and then you can see how it's not going to line up. Obviously, you need to be dead even to fit those retainer, or the keepers, I'm sorry, in there in the hole. You need to go nice and slow down there so everything sits perfect. But yeah, anyway, it's starting to get a little bit warmer, so I'm going to keep going. This is the last one I have to do. You can also, you have an option. These are BTR 660 springs, and they're seals. I have all the old seals out here. They're really pain in the rear to get them off. I had to use like some strong professional robo grip locking pliers to grab these and just kind of twist them, break them free a little bit, and then just you have to wiggle them off. But these are the BTR seals. They look okay, but obviously, like some of these have gunk in them, so maybe that's what's letting some oil get by. But just basic maintenance. Ideally, I didn't have to do the springs, but it was one of those, while you're in there, might as well do it. So I have these 2 left to do, and then I can finish up here, put all this stuff back on. I do have studs in the motor, some ARP studs. So I'm waiting on, I have one more package, which is just the torquing lube you put on the threads here. That should be here today, so I can put the head back on. I went ahead and finished that, and then I can put all this back on: intake, all the belts, the plumbing, wiring, power steering. So it's kind of reverse the process. You shouldn't have to go this far, but kind of learn from my mistake here on dropping that. Make sure you're at top dead center on each one. And if you like the valve or like air in the cylinder, you can do that. Just make sure it's at the very top, because if you, for instance, put your air compressor at 100 psi or whatever it's at, 50 psi should be enough, 50, 60, and the piston's all the way down, air should have to fill that whole chamber, versus if it was at the top, all that pressure will be a lot less area, and it will keep the valves pushed up. So when I dropped the valve, it was about halfway down, the piston was in the cylinder, and I didn't have this marked at top dead center. I thought I was at top dead center, but one mistake. Luckily it was the first one, not the last one, but that's what caused me to pull the head and inspect it thoroughly. But rather be safe than sorry. Now I have peace of mind. When I put it back together, I know it's good. Everything should be fine. Just gonna torque these all in sequence, and then that one I'll just put the rockers on both sides, honestly, and put everything back, spark plugs, the whole drill. But that is kind of an update. If you have any questions about it, feel free to comment below. Let me know. But I'm gonna keep going, and as soon as that Amazon drops off my ARP thread torque lube jug thingy, I'll get that head on and we can finish this up. So there you go. Let's keep going. All right, I just finished up getting everything buttoned up. Filters, couplers, lines, all the fun stuff. Just put the exhaust on. So we're gonna fire it up. Got to prime the fuel again. Transmission fans. And see what happens. Here we go. Did spill some coolant. Oh, it's smoking. Probably just what was on the headers. Yeah. Just a little bit of coolant that spilled down on the headers. I think we're okay. Just to be safe. All right. Try it again.
Testing.
pressure, and she's coming into close look there. Sweet. So it looks pretty normal to me. I'll double check everything, get the heat all in the motor. Go ahead and shut this off. So yeah, there you go. Gonna put some miles on it now that I got the cooler and everything else in there, all the maintenance done on it, and get ready for Streetcar Takeover Charlotte. So that's coming up here in about a month or so. So I'll have some time to kind of figure out the odds and ends. Maybe do a couple of logs. I don't know. We'll see. Just kind of once over the car. I don't want to get crazy and start doing more modifications this year just because everything's working, and that means a lot when everything's working for the most part. So before anything crazy happens, I'm just going to pretty much go around, drive a little bit, and go from there. But that is the video. If you liked it, it helped you, gave some direction. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to all the new people who've been subscribing. Sorry, it's been kind of a few weeks of delay because 1, I was waiting on parts. 2, I didn't know what was going on when I dropped the valve. Kind of panicked on that, so I stopped and took a moment, and it just took some extra time. So long story short, that's what it is. But if you're going to be at Streetcar Takeover Charlotte in, I don't know, June or July, whatever it is, let me know. Let me know down below, and we can link up when you get there, if you're going, and come say hi and whatever. So thank you guys once again. I will see you on the next one. Peace.